What's up? This is EJ Stewart.
What if I dropped 40 days, 40 nights?
One, you can't do it.
All you are your words. If there's anything you learned about me, I'm gonna keep it 100 with you.
Every morning, every night, for 40 days.
Going to be a long 40 days this year.
My skill shot will hold for your city for 40 days, 40 nights.
Rest in peace to all my ops.
For 40 days. If I can do that, then everything will be okay.
You're the guy who can't finish a sandwich. You think you can go 40 days? This isn't normal!
Oh, you're wrong, brother. I'm gonna go the distance.
Let's go! Let's go is right. What's up? This is EJ Stewart. You're watching 40 Days, 40 Nights. Let me get my mic on. I didn't have my mic on. That's crazy. This is EJ Stewart. 40 Days, 40 Nights. We're up to day 5 here. Fun first week. A lot to get to on this show. We're going to be talking about the NFL playoffs. We have a full NFL playoff preview. I'll be giving you my picks for this divisional round games. We'll also talk about what I thought was another embarrassing performance by the New York Knicks. They lose to the Warriors. The loss, not as much embarrassing. It was the conduct and allowing themselves to be punked by Draymond Green yet again that I found to be embarrassing. So we'll talk about that as well, and we'll get to the shocking news to some. Maybe not shocking to me, and I can confirm it wasn't shocking to me because I said on this very show that this was a possibility. The shocking news the most, that Kyle Tucker will be joining the Los Angeles Dodgers. All the talk about the Mets and their short-term offer of $50+ million per year. All the talk about the Blue Jays and their potential 10-year contract that they were offering. None of that mattered because what always happens, the Dodgers, being inevitable, came in, got their guy, blew both offers out of the water, and now you got yet another star free agent joining the Los Angeles Dodgers. So we'll get to all that stuff, man. Really excited to do this show again. This is 40 Days, 40 Nights, hosted by your boy, EJ Stewart. Every day, weekdays, 8 a.m. and 6 a.m. We do 2 live stream shows talking sports, talking superheroes, talking wrestling, talking all the stuff I love. What else I didn't throw in there? Hip-hop music. We did a whole thing of J. Cole for one episode. So we run the gamut on a bunch of things. Obviously, this is a sports-centered show. A lot of the topics are about sports. But to me, I wanted to make sure the show was something that really was a reflection of who I am, not just as a sports commentator or a sports radio host or whatever you want to say, but also just as an entertainer, just as a human, you know. And I think you guys have been loving this show. I think you guys have been enjoying the ride so far. So shout out to everybody watching on all different platforms. We're on YouTube. New Generation Media is where you'll watch us on YouTube. Make sure you give us a subscription there. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you like the video. Comment, engage, do all the good things that we need you to do on YouTube to help support the channel. New Generation Media is where you'll find this live stream there. You also find this live stream live on X. EJ_Stewart is where you can find me on X. Make sure you follow me on X as well. And on IG Live, Action EJ is where the show is also streaming live. And you could also, of course, follow me on there, Action EJ. And we got the scroll on the bottom. You can see all the other social media platforms where New Generation Media exists. Make sure you follow us on all of those platforms. So let's get to the big news of the day, which is again the stunner for most, that Kyle Tucker is indeed joining the Los Angeles Dodgers. He signs a 4-year, $240 million contract. You're talking about $60 million per year. I put $60 million per year in quotation marks because we once again have not as egregious, obviously, as the Shohei Ohtani contract, some of the other contracts we've heard, but we do have $30 million of this being deferred. So 4 years, $240 million, $30 million being deferred. He signs with the Los Angeles Dodgers. And are you guys not tired of this? Are you not sick of it? Have we not jumped the shark with this Dodgers thing? And I don't care if this sounds like sour grapes. I don't care if this sounds like someone who's salty because his team didn't get a guy. If Kyle Tucker would have went to the Blue Jays, would have went to the Yankees, would have went to some other team, I would have been fine. It would have been whatever. It is what it is. Chalk it up to the game. But are you guys not tired of this? This is corny to me. Like, this Dodger every offseason signing the number one free agent, getting the best player every single offseason, I don't think is entertaining. I don't think is good for baseball. I don't think it's something that most fans want to see. And it's, I think, a sad day in the sense that this kind of move will move us just further and further towards what will probably be a lockout season in 2027. I hope that there are games played. I don't want it to be a full lockout where there's no baseball, but I think given what the Dodgers are doing, pushing the envelope, they have $2 billion worth of contracts on their roster. Far more than the next closest team, which I believe is at $1.4 billion. I think it's the Phillies, but again, you can check me on that. I saw that stat earlier today. $2.1 billion in contracts. Next team is the separator is $700 million to the next team. I mean, at a certain point, what are we doing here? The Dodgers, look, Kyle Tucker is a star player. He enters their lineup, and a lineup that already was potent becomes more potent. They're a great team. He's a great player. Did they need him? Absolutely not. They definitely didn't need Kyle Tucker. He was not a missing piece for their team. They already won a damn championship. They already got stars playing at damn near every position. But adding him certainly helps. If you're the Dodgers, you absolutely do it. I think what they're doing is corny. I think what they're doing is bad for baseball. I hate it as a fan, but I cannot hate the Dodgers for what they're doing. I cannot hate the Dodgers for making these moves. I can't hate the Dodgers for playing within the rules that Major League Baseball is allowing, where you can defer money, which I think is important in this case, because the offer that reportedly was offered by the Mets was 4 years, $220. And if I'm telling you there's 4 years, $220 from the Mets, he got 4 years, $240 from the Dodgers, $30 million of it is deferred. The difference in the money ended up being money the Dodgers don't even have to give him. It's not money that he's going to get for another 10, 15 years. And that ended up possibly being the difference in why he is a Dodger and not a Met. That to me is ridiculous. I think that the Dodgers, their willingness to do it, I understand. The fact that this is actually part of Major League Baseball is just a laughingstock. It's a joke. There's no other sport where you can do this, where you can say, hey, I'll pay you 15 years from now, but come play for me today. That doesn't exist. So the Dodgers, who feel like they have endless money, who are not worried about what they got to pay somebody 30 years down the road or 20 years down the road, because who the hell knows that they're still owning the team? Who the hell knows whose costs they're putting that on? They're worried about putting the best baseball product on the field today, best baseball product on the field right now, so they're just taking care of business. But again, when we're talking about now the competitive balance of the sport, to have all the stars wanting to go to one team is just not good for the sport. And it really, if you're a fan who hopes that, okay, we didn't get this guy, but maybe we'll get the next guy. Like I see, Mets fans and other fans being like, all right, let's turn now to Tarik Skubal. Why the hell do you not think Tarik Skubal is not going to be a Dodger? Why the hell do you not think any of these other stars that will be coming up in free agency, guys that will be coming up, they don't got to trade. They don't got to trade for guys anymore. They just let guys go to free agency and sign them. They don't got to give up any prospects. Why do you think any of these stars that will be coming up through the system won't end up wearing Dodger blue at this point? There's no reason to believe that other than the Major League Baseball stepping in next year and saying, we're not letting you guys get on the field until we have a salary cap, which is very possible. Very possible. Will the players stand for that? It sure as hell sounds like they don't want to stand for that, and that's why I think we're going to have a lockout. But this is whack. This is whack. Nobody wants to see Kyle Tucker playing for the Los Angeles Dodgers, except for Dodger fans. Nobody. That is not within the best interest of the fans. That is not within the best interest of Major League Baseball. And I said this a couple of days ago, kind of, because I've been laying the tea leaves for this thing happening since this show started. We've talked about Kyle Tucker probably every damn day, almost every day on 40 Days and 40 Nights. And I've been laying the tea leaves that I was concerned that this was going to happen for days. And one of the things I said earlier in the week was, why don't Major League Baseball players get the same smoke that NBA players got when they were in the super team era? When it was LeBron, when it was Wade, when it was Bosh, and those guys teaming up, all we heard was, this is not how the game's supposed to be played. This is not how it was when I grew up. When I grew up, guys wanted to compete. Guys didn't want to just be buddy and be friends and just play on the best teams. People wanted to make the most of their own franchises. We seem to have that smoke for NBA players, but then Kyle Tucker and Freddie Freeman and Shohei Ohtani and Yoshi Yamamoto and all these guys year in and year out can pick the same team so they can all go to the same squad where even though the championship aspirations and expectations are super high, because they're all on the same team, it actually lessens the pressure for everybody. That's why this thing is corny to me. Because you say, oh, well, Kyle Tucker just wants to win, and now he's getting the most money, so he's getting his cake and eating it too. But he's not getting any of the pressure that comes with going to a team with big expectations to win a championship. Because he's going to a team that already has Shohei Ohtani, that already has Mookie Betts, that already has Freddie Freeman, that already has Yoshi Yamamoto, that already has Snell, that already has all these other guys. So there is no pressure on Kyle Tucker to go in and say, okay, now I got to be the difference maker on this team to win a championship. They already got 2 in a row. They've already gotten 3 within the last 5 years. So this is purely taking the most money to take the least amount of pressure. He comes to the Mets. Yes, obviously, Soto has the most pressure, and obviously Lindor gets a ton of heat. But he is seen as, okay, you're the guy that's supposed to be the equalizer for when the Mets maybe next time play the Dodgers in the playoffs like they did in 2024. Or if he goes to the Blue Jays, there's pressure in that you're the guy that's going to be the guy that gets us over the hump after we were so close to knocking out the Dodgers in the playoffs last year. With that comes pressure. With that comes expectations. And it is exactly what they used to say about the NBA players back in the day. This is a guy taking the easy way out. It is. He's allowed to do it. It's within his right. Hell, I would want to live in LA. Being a Dodger seems hella fun. I understand that. But let's also call it what it is. It is a guy taking the easy way out. And when we talked about this week his makeup and talked about, the idea, the concept that people were concerned that this is a guy that while he's been a star player, he hasn't been asked to be the man because he's been on other teams that have had other star players and other guys that were world champions. And that there was question marks of whether or not he could face that kind of pressure on a new team where he's going to be asked to be the guy. Last year in Chicago, it was a little bit of a mixed bag when he was put into that role. Albeit, again, he played through some injuries, so that's why the numbers weren't as good. Now we'll never know that answer. He doesn't have to answer those questions anymore. He's going to show up. He's going to hit behind Shohei Ohtani. He's going to get a ton of great pitches. He's going to hit 25 to 40 home runs. He's going to hit about 280. He's going to drive in 120 runs. And the Dodgers are going to win 105 to 110 games. Spoiler alert. That's what's going to happen. And again, sports is not supposed to be about things being inevitable. Sports is supposed to be about the game being unpredictable. That's what we love about sports. It's like the greatest reality show. Nothing is scripted. This crap with the Dodgers every year is starting to feel scripted. Not scripted in the sense that, Major League Baseball is in cahoots. Scripted in the sense that we all know how this ends. We know how this ends when it comes to free agency and that there's a top guy out there and where he's going to go. We know he's going to the Dodgers. And the Dodgers on the field are now also starting to become very inevitable as well when we know when they get to playoff time, nobody has the talent to see them. And now we have another star player going to this already stacked team. And I'm supposed to be excited about it. I'm supposed to be thrilled and go, I'm like, oh my God, what's going to happen this year? I've never been less excited about a baseball season because of this crap. Like, all right, now I know foregone conclusion what's going to happen in the National League and probably what's going to happen in the World Series, barring terrible injuries to the Dodgers. This is whack. This is totally not in the spirit of, to me, competition. And I'm stunned that I feel like most baseball fans seem to just kind of be okay with it. I see a lot of people making excuses, being like, well, like the Dodgers are just doing what everyone else would want their team to do. Which I hate when people say stuff that's just like obvious. We all know that. That's one of my biggest pet peeves when I talk sports or I talk anything, is people who think they're making contrarian points by saying things that are obvious that no one would argue. No one is saying they don't want a team like the Dodgers. What we're saying is this an entertaining product for the larger Major League Baseball landscape? Is it good for the sport to have one team every year getting the best players. To me, this is beginning to feel like how soccer was feeling, or is feeling, or how it is. Definitely when I was growing up, where every single guy went to Barcelona, or every single guy went to Real Madrid. There was a foregone conclusion. Whenever the next big star came up, you knew exactly where they were going. The teams that had the most money, they dominated everything, and it ended up being it was a foregone conclusion how La Liga was gonna go, how the EPL was gonna go, how the Champions League was gonna go. It was a foregone conclusion. Who has the most money? Man City, they're gonna win. Who has the most money? Who has the best stars? Barcelona, they're gonna win. I like soccer. Let soccer be soccer. I want baseball to be baseball. And don't give me, well, the Yankees used to do this and stuff. It was not like this, bro. It was not. The Yankees were not every year getting guys in the prime of their careers to join an all-star team. They were adding Gary Sheffields near the end of their prime. They were adding Roger Clemens near the end of their prime. They were adding guys, yes, star players, but they were also adding some older cats too. They were adding some big names, but guys that had seen much better years way before. That's why the Yankees didn't win all those years, because they were overpaying for guys who had seen better days. This is not that. The Dodgers are paying for Shohei Ohtani in the prime of his career. They're paying for Kyle Tucker in the prime of his career. Freddie Freeman, he's a little older, but we know he still got it, obviously. Yamamoto, prime of his career. We've never seen this before. This is different. And I think it's terrible. I think it's terrible. It pisses me off. You guys can tell how pissed off I am. And I look at this and I'm like, what are we doing, man? Like, this is whack. I keep saying that's the only way I can describe it. I'm like, this. You know what this looks like? This looks like when you're playing MLB The Show, and you're building you're doing your like my league thing, or whatever the equivalent is of what they say. Doing a franchise mode, and you're like, you know what? Like, I want to build the best team, but I don't want to have all these things in my way. So let me turn off the trade logic. Let me turn off the budgeting. Let me turn off all the things that would make it more difficult to put together a super team. I just want to make the Mets or the Pirates or the Guardians or the Twins or whatever your team is. I just want to make them the best team. Forget about money. Forget about rules. Forget about logic. I just want to make them the best team. And you go out there and you put your team together and you're like, I have Tarek Skubal and Paul Skeens in my rotation. And my lineup has Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani. And we think that's, and then maybe in your fantasy world, that is fun. That is not fun in real life. It's not fun to see the Dodgers playing MLB The Show with no trade logic and no budgeting. That is not good for the sport. It's not good for other baseball fans who want to see competition. But that is what, to me, when I watch what has gone on with the Dodgers for the last, 4 to 5 years, that to me is what it's looked like. So one other thing on this as well, Blue Jays lose out, tough break, as best I can tell you. I did warn you. You can't say I didn't try to warn you. I said yesterday, I couldn't believe how prophetic that was. Yesterday, I come on the show and I say, I've been saying for days, I'm concerned at how publicized the Mets' offer to him has become, because it sounds like somebody that's trying to get other people to give him money. And then the Blue Jays, I played this sound from Jeff Passan yesterday, where he said that they were willing to go up to 10 years on a contract. And then I said, okay, now we know the Mets contract, and then now we're starting to learn more about the Blue Jays contract. Blue Jay fans, I would feel concerned about my contract terms being publicized in such a public way. Why would someone do that? Anytime we're getting that kind of information, these people aren't just giving it to Jeff Passons or John Heymans or these other MLB scoopers. They're not giving them out of kindness of their heart. Like, ooh, let me be nice to Jeff Passan. He sent me a nice Christmas card. Let me give him some information here. That's not why they're doing it. Ooh, John Heyman wished me a Merry Christmas. Let me give him this little information here. That's not why they're telling them this stuff. They're telling him this stuff to play games through the media to get their clients the most money. And it goes both ways. Sometimes teams will also put stuff out there to put pressure on guys. But in this case, I was 100% right. I said, that concerns me. It looks like a guy that's trying to up the price for some other team to get him. And I said, if you're a Mets fan, you should be concerned. And now I think if you're a Blue Jays fan, you should be concerned. Because the Mets offer, we knew what it was. The Blue Jays offer, we had details of what it was. We got no indication of what the Dodgers are willing to offer until the contract was signed. Is the Lil Wayne quote, real G's move in silence? The Mets and Blue Jays should have already known how this was going to go down. The Dodgers, this is how they work. Real G's moved in silence. Dodgers didn't say a peep. Word never got out on what they were willing to offer. And they, okay, Mets, you're going $50 million? Oh, there's 10 years coming from the Blue Jays? All right, we'll go $60 million per year. And at a certain point, at what point are you going to say, all right, you know what, that's enough money to go play in Los Angeles, play for a super team, and live a glorious life? It's what they did with Yamamoto. Same thing. Oh, Mets are offering this. Mets are going off full poor press. They're going all in. Oh, okay. What, $315 million? All right, $320. Come on, let's go. Never knew the offer the Dodgers were giving. We've seen this game over and over and over again. So this is where we're at. And I'll be honest, this is not a Dodgers situation. It was kind of a situation, same thing with Soto last year. Oh, the Yankees don't want to go to 15 years. We started hearing things about where the Yankees line was, which is what the Mets, all they need to hear to go over the top, right? So, again, you chalk it up to the game. But I told you it was going to happen. I told you that this was inevitable. Those other teams are being used so that Kyle Tucker could get the most money possible to join the LA Dodgers, and he got what he wanted. So, again, Blue Jays, tough break. This is not the kind of guy you normally get anyway. This would have been a massive coup if you would have got him. You didn't get him. It is what it is. For the Mets, when will the embarrassment end? Like, is Steve Cohen, put down your phone, delete your Twitter account, delete that dumb tweet, nephew. Like, what are we doing? So during this whole wait-and-see game with Kyle Tucker, where the expectation was we'd learn something last night, and it turned out to be correct, Steve Cohen, where I don't know if he's trying to be cute, I don't know if he was trying to put pressure, I don't know what was going through this man's mind. But Steve Cohen thought it was a good idea to say, let me put out on X a tweet that says, let me know if you see any smoke. Let me know if you see any smoke. Which threw everybody in a frenzy because people were like, oh, did Steve Cohen make the boss offer and now he's just waiting for word from Jeff Passan to release that he's going to be a New York Met? Does Steve Cohen have some information that is favorable to the Mets? Which were logical conclusions to reach to, because what dummy would potentially embarrass his own franchise by putting out tweets about what's going to happen about a free agent when a lot of his fans are waiting on pins and needles in hopes that they're going to get this guy? Why? No dummy will put themselves, their franchise and their fans in a position where they could get their hopes up to then eventually be crushed. No dummy would really do that, right? That can't be what's happening, right? He can't be clueless. He can't actually be putting it out there because he doesn't know what the hell is going to happen. But sure enough, that's what it was. He was being a dummy. He didn't know what was going on. He was clueless. And he later had to clean up because he realized how much this tweet was spreading like wildfire. He's like, oh, I'm put this out here because I'm just waiting like everybody else. You're not like everybody else. You run a baseball team. You're an owner. You're not like everybody else. That means you can't act like everybody else. That doesn't mean you don't get that means, yes, you can't go on social media and just put out tweets like you're a random Mets fan, 1914 X573. You're not. You're Steve Cohen. You're a public figure. What you say represents the organization. And you putting out there this cutesy tweet that you think is funny, is you seen any smoke, and then you got another guy going to the Dodgers, and you've been once again pants in front of the entire world by the Los Angeles Dodgers for a player you thought you were going to get, it is a poor reflection on the team, and it brings just more pain, more embarrassment, more frustration to the Met fan. Get off Twitter, bro. Get off Twitter. I'm so tired of this guy. To put out that post yesterday was mind-boggling to me. If you know you got him, that's one thing. If you know you got him, you want to have fun, that's one thing. To put that out there with literally no idea what was going to happen, and now, once we confirmed you had no idea what was going to happen, now it set up the layup for the rest of the baseball world to dunk on your ass once we learned he was going to go to another team. It was a joke. A complete joke. So that's the way I got on Kyle Tucker, man. The Mets fan, as you can see, very hot about this. But again, I'm hot about it as a baseball fan. I don't look at this again and say, oh, this is cool. I can't wait to see Kyle Tucker in a lineup with Shohei Ohtani and Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman. That's not something I ever wanted to see. It's not something I don't think baseball fans are clamoring for. It's not the spirit of the game. I don't understand it. Let's get to some comments. My guy Ariel, shout out to my guy Ariel Marquito, awesome dude. He's in the chat. He put in, and I'm sorry, Marquito. I didn't see this quote. What I said about people say I wasn't trying to diss you at all. I was just going off what I saw on X and what I saw on Twitter yesterday. But he was like, no, let it continue. In the words of Ric Flair, if you want to be the man, you got to beat the man. The problem with that analogy, Ariel, is baseball is not scripted. It's kind of how I started this. Baseball and all sports is the best reality show going because it is unscripted. At least it's supposed to be. And that Ric Flair, the dirtiest player in the game, cheating to win stuff, that stuff works as entertainment because you know it is scripted. This doesn't work for sports that aren't scripted because we actually want to see competition. We want to see fair play. So I get the analogy, but I don't love the analogy in terms of what's going on. So, and then he said also every MLB team can do this in terms of the Western. That's why I meant when I said I wasn't dissing you with saying that every team would want to do this. But I would argue no. Every team can't do this. No other team, I think, has the financial means, I think, to say that we have, what's the deferred money on Shohei? Like $700 million, something crazy? Like we have, let me find the exact deferred money on Shohei, because I want to make sure, I don't want to make something up. But the money he has that's deferred is exorbitant. $680 million is, I think it was like $700 million. $680 million is being deferred. And in terms of business practices, these teams can't just say that they willy-nilly be able to afford to give a guy $600 million in 15 years. It's just not, I know they got a lot of money. I know these guys are billionaires. There is a limit to some people's bread. There's a limit to this thing. So I think the Dodgers, because they are not just a collection of one billionaire, they're a collection of multiple billionaires. I do think they have an unfair advantage in that regard. So I don't think necessarily everybody's playing by the same rules in that regard. The rules are the same. But in terms of the capability of people to do it, that is a problem. And one more thing from Ariel here. Again, shout out to him. Always a good friend. And of course, great to have him in the cut here. He's a big baseball fan. I'm just worried that this is pushing MLB to a salary cap. That will, I think he said running, but I believe ruin the sport. That's the funny thing about this is, again, so I'm a Mets fan. So I come from a perspective of I don't want a salary cap. I think a salary floor is what we need. I don't think we necessarily need a salary cap for all this, but I think we need definitely just more intense rules regarding luxury tax and, again, the deferred money. To me, again, this whole thing is happening because they gamed the system. $680 million that should be on their books is currently not on their books because they deferred it to 15, 20 years from now. I don't think that should be allowed. So I think you're right. I think it will push MLB to a salary cap, and it's not something I want. I agree with you on that, but I don't think it's what they need. I don't think they need a salary cap. But they're going to use this as an example. Say, well, now we need a salary cap because the Dodgers got another guy, but they outspent everybody. Where it's like, well, they would not have outspent everybody if they had to pay Shohei Ohtani the $70 million he is supposed to make every year. If they were paying Shohei $70 million this year, they're not getting Kyle Tucker. It's just a reality. Maybe I'm like talking out of turn. Maybe I'm poking the bear. Maybe the Dodgers are like, all right, challenge accepted. Watch this. But I don't think that if they had to pay Shohei Ohtani the kind of money that they are supposed to pay him and all the other deferred money they had to pay that money up front. I don't think you'd see Kyle Tucker with the Dodgers. I don't think you see all these other guys with the Dodgers. They'd have some of them. They'd have some of these guys. They're the richest team. So they'd have some of them. Would they have all of them? Absolutely not. That contract flipped everything up and flipped the entire script of the entire sport. And they're going to use that as an excuse to say, well, we need a salary cap. No, you need to stop the deferred money crap. That has to end. No more of this. Damn, man, this stupid Kyle Tucker thing. Like, it's again, I'm not surprised. I'm not sitting there and tell you I'm surprised, but it pisses me off that I got to go into another baseball season with the inevitability of Dodgers winning because they have all the best players. And like there was a time when the money wasn't so like so much of like a fluid thing for a team. Where like, oh well, like there was a risk in signing a big term time contract because it was gonna, if the guy got injured, if a guy underperformed or what have you, you know, those contracts would be hard to move. And then the next guy that comes up, you might not be able to get because you got someone blocking them. But again, with the way the Dodgers do the deferred money, the way they do all this finagling of the contracts and the amount of money they have, they are perfectly okay and willing to just sign away their mistakes. You know, oh, this guy doesn't work. Okay, we'll sign his replacement. And it does not matter because, again, $700 million that should be on our books is not on our books for the next 15 years. Again, how is that it's good strategy, I suppose. But again, I look at it as less good strategy and more you're just gaming the system. That's how I look at this. So we'll see what ends up happening with the rest of the baseball offseason. I'm hoping now we start to see some real dominoes fall. Cody Bellinger will obviously be one of the next big dominoes to fall with the Dodgers signing Kyle Tucker, which again made, when I kept hearing all this stuff about, you know, will we see Cody Bellinger maybe go back to the Dodgers, I was like, I don't see why that makes sense. Like, he was there and he became a star there, but then also flopped there. Why would you bring him back? Why would you want to even risk any kind of mental kind of hang-ups that happened towards the end there? Why would you want to risk that coming back? That's again why when it came to, oh, they're looking for an outfielder potentially, I'm like, this is the team you should worry about. And here we are now, January 16th, after weeks and weeks and weeks talking about Mets and Blue Jays. Dodgers get their guy. Let's get to NFL playoff football. We got a divisional round slate that is a good one. It's a good one. What I said last week is what I'll still say. Good luck trying to determine who is a quote-unquote team to beat. Good luck trying to determine who you feel like is the runaway favorite. I'm going to give you guys my picks. Picking these games was extremely hard because I think there's a lot of even competition. These are all, in my opinion, imperfect teams, flawed teams. This will not be, like I said earlier, when Maggie and Perloff, we did the Maggie and Perloff show, we did what we call it, King of the Mountain, where we matched up the greatest teams of all time in the NFL in a King of the Court type tournament, where we put two teams on the court, one team wins via a fan poll, loser goes home, next person comes up the next week. And we just keep doing that. It's not a bracket style, it's a King of the Court style. And we're going to keep doing that. Obviously, the show was, of course, on the Infinity Sports Network discontinued, so we didn't get to finish the project. But we were going to do that all the way up until the Super Bowl week, and we would have had a winner of who was the greatest team of all time. The 85 Bears had won like 6 weeks in a row. We'd already gotten the 72 Dolphins out of the paint. We got the 84 Niners out of the paint. We had gotten a lot of the greatest teams, the 70 Steelers out of the paint. So I would have assumed that the Bears were going to win this, but we still had to see. We didn't get to see what was going to happen in the end, but they did. And when the show ended in that iteration, we did have the Bears as the king of the mountain. I say all that to say none of these teams would qualify for that tournament. Is what I overall want to say. Well, we were trying to put together the best teams. Like last year's Eagles team made this list because they were, by all stats, one of the greatest teams of all time. We're not going to have one of the greatest teams of all time win Super Bowl this year. That's not happening. So these are all imperfect teams, which maybe doesn't make for like dynasty talk or any other that crazy talk, but I think will make for some awesome games. So let's get to it, man. I'm going to begin with the Bills traveling to Denver to face the Broncos. I have my eye on a couple of things. Number one, definitely eye on Josh Allen's health. Josh Allen was very banged up in that last game against the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's already dealing with foot issues, hurt his knee, hurt his hand in the game. He's coming in with some nicks and bruises, and maybe even more than just nicks and bruises. And now he's going to be going up against, after a tough physical game against a brutal defense last week. He's now coming into this week with yet another tough physical game against a brutal defense. So I think they're going to beat him up. I think that not having Gabe Davis is going to be a problem. Not that Gabe Davis is some superstar, but the Broncos are so good in the secondary, and they're so good at cornerback. They're going to play some man-to-man. They're going to challenge these guys, and the Bills receivers better be ready to play. They better be ready to play against this team because that pass rush is going to be all over Josh Allen. Josh Allen's going to have to make some off-platform plays. Those guys are going to have to be ready to make those plays. I think it's going to be a huge factor in this game. And for the Broncos side on offense, I'm going to be very fascinated and curious to see, can they run the ball with any effectiveness? Because I think that I'm definitely leaning Broncos, and I'll spoil alert at the Broncos winning, and I'll tell you why in a second. But I get the feeling that the Broncos, after losing J.K. Dobbins, they haven't run the ball with the same effectiveness with R.J. Harvey. And I think this is going to be a game where the ball is going to be in Bo Nix's hands a lot. And we saw last week with the other two, second-year guys playing in playoff games. Now, this is not Bo Nix's first playoff game of his career, so that's going to help him a little bit. We saw with Caleb and we saw with Drake May, they were a little amped up. They definitely were feeling the moment, I think, of playing the playoff, the intensity of it. And I think it led to both guys not having the greatest starts. So if the Broncos can't run the ball and the ball is in Bo Nix's hands a ton, he's going to have to be really careful with the ball. He's got to make plays. He can't be, scared. And if they do have Bo Nix, I don't think he plays scared. He's going to he's going to throw it out there, man, whether good, bad, or indifferent. But he's going to have to be smart with the ball. He can't make mistakes. And I think if you're the Bills, stopping that run is going to be important because I think you're going to want the ball in this guy's hands. I think you're going to win, lose, or draw. I think you're going to say, if we're going to lose because Bo Nix drops back 40 to 45 times and he made enough plays to win. And that's what, if he outplays Josh Allen or plays just good enough to win this game, then I think you say, all right, well, that's how the shoe fell, and we lose, and we just take that with pride. Maybe Sean McDermott still gets fired, but I think you live with that. You can't live with the Broncos being able to have a balanced run and pass attack, and now Bo Nix is able to use play action. Now you're playing on your heels defensively. That is not something they can do. But I think overall, and why I'm picking the Broncos, I think this game will come down to coaching. I think this is going to be a very close game. I think it's going to be a seesaw battle. I think Bo Nix is going to make some good plays. I think he's going to make some bad plays. So I think he's going to keep the Bills in it. I think Josh Allen is going to be Superman in a lot of this game. And they're going to need him to against his defense. But I think at the end of the day, it's going to come down to coaching. And while the Bills won that game, Sean McDermott made some, to me, knuckleheaded coaching decisions late when it came to not winding the clock down and scoring with less time on the clock so the Jaguars couldn't come back. Now, of course, Trevor Lawrence threw the pick anyway, so it ended up not mattering. But just in terms of process over results, that was stupid process. And the Bills continue to kind of have these moments where it seems like their coaching staff doesn't know how to handle these late game situations. Say what you want about Sean Payton. Sean Payton has not been my cup of tea in terms of how he conducts himself off the field. Sean Payton is a great on the field coach, and Sean Payton is great when it comes to game scenario. He will never not be prepared in that moment. So in a game that I think will be close, in a game that I think game scenario and gameplay is going to be maybe the difference, I have to look at the coaching staff. One has Sean McDermott, guy who's won a lot of games, but has had trouble with game management. Other team has Sean Payton, Super Bowl champion, expert game manager. I'm going with the Broncos. Laying the 1.5 for an outright win, but a close game. I think this is a field goal type of game. But I think it will be a fun one in Denver. It should be an awesome crowd at Mile High. It always is. Playoff football there is fun. And if the Bills lose, if they lose, and depending on how the fashion they lose, I still wonder what's going to happen with Sean McDermott in his future. Because as you keep hearing, when you hear some of these insiders, they kind of flirt out there. The results of the playoffs still could make a difference in what's going to happen. They said it with LaFleur, who now apparently is working on a contract, quote unquote, that we have not heard any details about yet. And I would wonder what's going to happen again with Sean McDermott if the Bills lose this game. But I have the Broncos. I'm laying the 1.5. Let's go to Seattle, the other Saturday game. So Seahawks, that's a typo, so hosts. They host, not host. Seahawks host the shorthanded 49ers. Again, Niners will not have George Kittle. He tore his Achilles yesterday. You want to talk about a moment, I don't have the video up, but a moment where people film everything. People film everything now, man. Because, George Kittle tears his Achilles last week, which is obviously devastating. He seems like a good dude. Fun fact, he answered my question in Super Bowl week last week when I asked him about, during the media night, about wrestling at WrestleMania and in the show and how things are going. And I was one of the people who asked one of the questions. I think 2 people asked. I was the second person to ask him about it. He gave a fun answer. So George Kittle, not that means he's a good guy, but I had a fun interaction with him, and he seems to be all kinds of good guy. So it's terrible to see. And he's definitely, without doubt, good ambassador for the league. That we can all say fairly. So it's tough to see him go down, especially at this stage of his career, towards the end of his prime. I'm looking at this situation, and I see this game. Well, number one, let me get back to the story of the filming everything. I kind of got distracted there. So he goes down. It's terrible. I didn't know the Wags, and that's I think what they call themselves. So I'm not being disrespectful, but just to be clear, the wives and girlfriends of the 49ers, who they are they're people follow them. They got a following. They got their whole thing going. Juszczyk's got his wife is doing the jackets. She did Taylor Swift's jacket with the Travis Kelce. George Kittle's wife is doing her thing. She was a former basketball player, which is super cool. They got their little thing going. I didn't know they have I don't know if it's a reality show or a web series or something, but they got something, because I watched a clip of a trailer for this show, and they are filming George Kittle's wife watching him go down with an Achilles injury. And I'm like, man, y'all film everything. There are some things that I would think maybe would be sacred. I don't know if I needed to see George Kittle's wife's reaction the moment he snaps his Achilles. That feels almost a little personal. Now, I mean, she's obviously doing the show. She's for it, so it's not this is something that they were imposing on her in any way. But I was like, oh my God, we're at this stage now where we're filming catastrophic injuries, and what's the family reaction? We're getting a live reaction, and she's crying and oh man. And it was crazy when she was talking to him during the game, and she's showing the FaceTime of the field, and they're celebrating with him as they won. So it ended up being obviously a fun moment, because not fun moment, but it ended up being a happy ending that the Niners won. There was a lot of emotion. The families were crying in the booth. It was cool to see just how much these families live and die with these teams, these results as well, just like the fans. So it was cool. It just was I'm seeing a wife crying because her husband just tore his Achilles. I'm like, feels a little personal. But shout out to George Kittle. Shout out to the Kittle family. And shout out, I guess, to the wives and girlfriends, obviously, of the Niners doing their thing, because they definitely have made names for themselves beyond just their husbands. They seem like a cool group. But in talking about this game now, and talking about the George Kittle situation, Niners are shorthanded. So I expect it to be the CMC show, which hasn't always necessarily been the most effective show, to be honest. Christian McCaffrey was running for 3.1 yards a carry last week. He's kind of hovered around under 3 yards a carry as the Niners have had to force feed him because they've had a lack of weapons this year. Kittle in and out of the lineup. They never had Brandon Ayuk. Jennings has been banged up. So they've had to rely on Christian McCaffrey a ton. And to his credit, for a guy who has been injury prone at times in his career, he has stood up to it. He has not gotten hurt. He has not had to miss games. He has taken the pounding from this season, and he is still upright. So shout out to him for that. So I think there's going to be a lot of Christian McCaffrey here. Demarcus Robinson stepped up in a major way last week. So I would expect that he would be the next guy that probably sees his targets go up tremendously. With Kittle out, they're going to, really put a lot of attention on Juwan Jennings. So then the next receiver becomes the guy. So I think Demarcus Robinson is going to have an opportunity to make a lot of plays, and I think he probably will make some plays this year. He had a very good game against Philadelphia. The one thing I'll think about is Purdy was a little loose with the ball last week. He did throw 2 picks, albeit it was to an all-world cornerback in Quinyon Mitchell. But he did throw 2 picks in a playoff game. And typically, you turn the ball over twice in a playoff game, you lose. Luckily, they were playing against a Eagles team that was self-destructing. So they were able to win that game. But I don't think that the Niners can get away with Purdy throwing those kind of picks in this one. So I think him taking care of the ball is going to be crucial against a Seahawks defense that are ball hawks. They will be going after the football, whether it be strip sacks, whether it be interceptions. He's going to have to be much more careful with the football. I have some concern about whether or not he may cough it up a little bit in this game. Seahawks did a number on them defensively a couple of weeks ago, and that was once again with George Kittle playing. Obviously, this is without. The Niners may have a little bit of a advantage that they now have a game plan that they tried that did not work, and now because Kittle's gone, they're going to have a completely different game plan. So I'll be fascinated to see if the Seahawks have to make some adjustments to what the Niners are doing, because they will be playing a very different Niners team they played a couple of weeks ago in Santa Clara. This is going to be the Darnold game. I said it yesterday. I said it last night. Darnold, he came up on the injury report with an oblique injury. Ain't nobody trying to hear about an oblique injury. There are going to be no excuses, no explanations, as Mike Tomlin would say, as in terms of him needing to get the job done. You're the number 1 seed. You got the best receiver in the NFL, arguably. You got arguably the number 1 defense in the NFL. And you got a Niners team that is extremely well coached and is very good in these kind of playoff rounds, the wild card round, divisional round. I don't know if Kyle Shanahan has ever lost in these rounds. It's usually the conference finals of the championship game, rather, and the Super Bowl where he has his gaffes. The gaffes don't come in the divisional round. They don't come in the wild card round. So Kyle Shanahan, as a great coach, well-coached team in these kind of rounds for sure, does not matter. They're injured. You beat this team up a couple weeks ago. You have to win this game. Sam Darnold's going to have to play well. Now, he's going to be dealing with this oblique, but what I will say about this team and why I feel good about the Seahawks winning is this is not going to be a Niner pass rush that's going to put a lot of pressure on him. What we see from Sam Darnold, it's like really any quarterback, but with him particularly, is when he is under siege, when he is under a lot of pressure, he doesn't have the mobility to get around it, and he is more likely to make mistakes when he is under that kind of pressure. When the Rams have been able to pressure him, when other teams have been able to pressure him, remember last year when they played that Lions game and all the pressure he was under, the Rams and the playoffs last year and all the pressure he was under, that is when Sam Darnold's at his worst. He does not do well in terms of handling that kind of pass rush. The Niners have one of the worst pass rushes in the league. It's not their fault. They just had too many guys get hurt that would affect their pass rush, but they do not get a lot of pressure on the quarterback, which I think is going to be a problem. So I think Sam Darnold he'll be fine with the injury, and I think he'll be upright in terms of not having to take a lot of hits, not having to move from his spot. If he could stay in his spot, read the defense, and just hit his receivers accurately, which is his game, they'll be fine. I'm going with the Seahawks. I'm going to take the 7 points with the Niners, though. I don't think this will be a blowout. 7, it feels like a good number, because I kind of see this being a, between 6 points and 10 points kind of win for the Seahawks. So, 7's tough. It's all right, will they win by 2 scores or 1 score? I'm going to say it's going to be 1 score. I'll say Darnold makes maybe 1 mistake that kind of keeps the Niners in it. But Purdy, I think, also will make some mistakes as well. I think that's going to be a problem for the Niners. So I got Seahawks winning. I'll take the Niners +7 with this game. Let's now go to the Sunday games. Patriots facing off against the tough Texans defense. I put in the lower third. I know the Texans have an offense, but to me, whenever you're talking about the Texans, the conversation should always be about their defense because their defense is ridiculous. It's so fun to watch. And I think it is the marquee matchup of this game. Is can the Texans defense, once again, single-handedly put them ahead and put them into the next round of the playoffs? I think that's what's likely going to have to happen if they want to win this game. A lot of the talk was about how bad C.J. Stroud played on Monday Night Football, and it was deservedly so, because he was, in my opinion, shook. He looked scattered. He looked frazzled. He looked rattled. All those words, he looked all of it playing against Pittsburgh on Monday night. But the defense took it upon themselves and said, all right, we'll just do it ourselves. And they were able to knock around Aaron Rodgers, score some of their own touchdowns, and win that game essentially on their own. That, again, is going to be the assignment this week because as much conversation as there was about CJ, Drake May also, I didn't think, played well last week. And his play kind of got overshadowed by the fact that Justin Herbert had such a miserable game. But his first half was terrible. He was very loose with the ball in dangerous spots, deep in their own territory. Those are the kind of situations where if you were playing against an offense that wasn't comatose, they would have put up some big points early in that game. They didn't because they were playing a Chargers team that had no teeth. But that kind of play is not going to cut it against the Texans defense. This Texans defense, again, maybe the offense won't make them pay, but the defense will make them pay because they can score touchdowns on those kind of plays. So he's got to be much more careful with the ball. I think the key to this game is going to come down to, can the Patriots run the football effectively? Because they don't want this to be what I think we're going to see in Denver, where it's going to be essentially the Bo Nix show, where I don't think that the Broncos will run the ball well. So Bo Nix is going to have to drop back 45 times and use his legs and make plays to keep them in that game. I don't think against this defense you want that to be the game for Drake May. Against the Bills defense, which is not bad, but it's good, but it's not legendary, it's not scary in any way. I think you can say, okay, you know what, we'll put the ball in the hands of our quarterback and hope he can beat this team. Trevor Lawrence failed last week. We hope our guy can do it this week. I don't think against the Texans defense you want to be like, I'm putting the ball in the hands of my 23-year-old quarterback. I don't think that's what you want to do. I think you want to play balanced football. I think you want to be able to run the football so that you can slow down that pass rush, slow down Will Anderson, slow down Daniel Hunter. The problem is they're both really good against the run. So that doesn't make it easy. This is not an easy assignment. And then, of course, Al-Shaair and Tua Toa, like, Kasim Lassiter, like, they got guys in the secondary. Petrie, who also stopped the run. But I think it's going to be crucial for the Patriots to find a way to run the football. They're going to have to run the football. Because I think if they do make Drake May have to face that pass rush, as athletic he is, he will be running for his life. It's not anything against the Patriots' offensive line or how they play. It's just this is who the Texans are. They make everybody look like this. So Patriots are going to have to find a way to run the ball. The reason why I favor the Patriots in this one, in terms of why I think they could win, is unlike the Steelers, unlike some of these other teams where you got to run the ball, you got to have a level of consistency with it because you don't have a home run hitter. The Patriots do. Travion Henderson is a home run hitter. And they got to stay consistent with the run even when it doesn't work because you never know when he's going to break 1 for 70. And I think that could be the difference in this game. Like the Texans may end up being fine against the run for the most part, but all it takes is one mistake for Travion to take one to the house. So I'm expecting maybe a big run from Travion Henderson that kind of flips the game in a major way. And again, if the Patriots are able to play with a lead, that will be trouble, I think, for the Texans because I don't trust C.J. Stroud now not having Nico Collins, who will likely be out with a concussion. I don't trust C.J. Stroud in this moment in Foxborough against a good defense, against a well-coached defense. I don't trust him in this moment. Which is unfortunate because I had the Texans as my Super Bowl team coming into the season. And I'm hoping they win this game. I want to be able to at least stand on something and say, I picked the Texans to go to the Super Bowl before the season. I saw it before anybody else. But like I always say, I'm always going to keep it 100. And I saw C.J. Stroud taking a year 3 bump that did not happen. I thought C.J. Stroud was going to continue to establish himself, maybe not as an MVP candidate, but as a true star quarterback in this league. And right now, I think you'd say he's probably an average quarterback in this league. The way, if you were grading all the quarterbacks, if you were ranking them, he's probably somewhere between 13 and 18, probably, if I was ranking all the guys. So I don't think Stroud against this defense is going to be enough. So I'm going to take the Patriots, and I'm going to take the 3.5. Excuse me, not 3.5. -3 is the number. I'm taking the -3 with the Pats here. I think they cover, and I think they win at home. And finally, we got Bears, Rams. This is definitely the game I'm most excited to see. Definitely. Rams will be entering some frigid temperatures, frigid conditions. We're talking about by game time, and this game will kick off around 6 p.m., I believe. Temperatures will likely be in the teens. There will be some wind, not crazy wind, but 15 to 20 mile per hour winds, which is strong. And it is the windy city, obviously. There will certainly be some wind. There'll certainly be some things they're going to have to work with that. So, LA team, go into the elements. Not always the greatest kind of odds in those kind of moments, even though the Rams are 4.5-point favorites in this game. Rams, usually the fast starters. Bears, usually slow starters but strong finishers. And Rams, not the best finishers. So really, it almost seems like a perfect match of like, we kind of know how the script of this game should go. Rams probably get off to an early 10-0 lead. Bears do enough to kind of just hang around. The Rams kind of do enough to make stupid plays that allow the team to hang around. Bears finish strong. And then it's like a last drive, let's see who wins kind of deal. It feels like that should just be the game, because this is the game that both of these teams, independent of each other, have played all year. So it feels like this should be exactly how this game goes. I do wonder if the cold weather flips that script, though. I do wonder if, because the Rams will be going into temperatures in the teens, do they get off to this hot start that they're accustomed to get into? Do the Bears, now with some postseason experience and knowing that they're facing a team that likely won't want to play in these elements, will they come into this game with a little bit of more juice, and then will they start off a little hotter because maybe the Rams get off to a slow start? I think this game may end up, the script for this may end up getting flipped in the opposite way than we're used to seeing. Kind of like what happened when the Rams with the Philly last year. Remember that Philly game, this was the closest game the Eagles had where they were this close to getting knocked out of the playoffs. Eagles got off to a hot start. Rams, in the middle of the game, had to kind of hang around. They had some blunders. You had a Kyron Williams fumble. But they had to kind of then try to steal the game late. And Matthew Stafford started making some throws, making some plays in the snow. It was a fun playoff game. As someone who says, I will keep saying this, I dislike weather football. I want to see teams playing at their best. I don't want elements coming into the play. So I'm not someone who loves it when we're seeing 5-degree football or snowy football, and the worst of it all is rainy football. I hate that. To me, it's just get that out of here. I will say though, that game between the Eagles and Rams in the snow was a classic, and the snow definitely helped make it a classic. What I will say though is most games don't end up like that. The reason why we only talk about a few snow games that we remember. You know, the Raiders versus the Patriots, Tuck Rule, the last year's Rams Eagles game. The Ice Bowl, which wasn't snow but it was super cold. There's a reason why we only talk about a few of those games. Because those are only few cold weather, snowy games that are actually good. Most of them stink. And we keep fantasizing, keep romanticizing that every snowy game is going to look like that, but most of the time it doesn't. That's why I'm not a weather football fan when it comes to that. People say it makes me soft. People say that makes me, you're against the nature of what makes football fun. I don't give a damn. I don't like weather football. That's just how I always have been. So I'm hoping the weather elements don't make a difference, but I actually think that there's a chance, given how the Rams started slow against the Eagles last year, that they may end up starting slow again this week. Another thing I think to think about with this game, and breaking it down, the Bears had to change their strategy at halftime. They were playing a lot of man-to-man, and they started playing man-to-man towards the end as well, and they started getting burned again. But they're going to have to figure out what they're going to do defensively, because their corners outside of Jalen Johnson are a little vulnerable, and the Packers have good receivers, not superstars, but good receivers. I thought the Packers had their way with them for the most part in man-to-man, and that was why they got to that big time early lead, and that's why they, when the Bears started to make their run, almost were able to hold them off. I wonder if Dennis Allen, defensive coordinator for the Bears, if he's going to have to play a lot more zone, and because this is a different animal in terms of these receivers. You thought covering those guys and Christian Watson and Romeo Dobbs was a problem. You're going against Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua. This is a whole different beast. So I'll be interested to see, does Dennis Allen play a lot more zone? Does he try to blitz a lot more, which will put his receivers on islands, but maybe it'll find a way to get Stafford to get rid of the ball much quicker, so he's not having to allow guys to get down the field and cook their corners. I'll be very curious to see how Dennis Allen plans to cover these receivers, because I think if I'm the Rams, I'm watching the tape from last week's game, and I'm kind of licking my chops. I'm licking my chops because I'm like, yes, the Bears won and they survived, but those corners had some problems in coverage, in man-to-man, and they can't cover the Packer receivers. They damn sure can't cover our receivers. So I'm interested, and this is gonna be a fun matchup. We got some comments in the chat here. King Cash, shout out to King Cash, showing up in the comments talking about this game. He said here, and let me lower my thing so you can see what he said here. He was like, the Rams were forcing the ball to Adams. Puka dropped a TD and let the Panthers hang around. They won't make that same mistake again. I certainly hope not. But we saw them do this when they faced the Seahawks as well. We've seen these games throughout the year where they should put teams away, and it's not as easy as it should be. They let the Seahawks hang around twice. The game in L.A. that they should have blown them out because Darnold was giving them the ball. They let them hang around. In the game in Seattle when they were up big time, and in the Seahawks made that miraculous, fourth quarter comeback. Some of it helped by the rest, but nonetheless still made the comeback. Rams have been making this mistake again, so I can't say for sure it won't happen. And then he also said here, if you play zone versus Stafford, he will eat that up all day. He might, but I think that might be their only choice. I don't want them playing man-to-man up against Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams. And I think that's why they're in a conundrum. I think that's why the Bears are a little bit of trouble when it comes to this game. What's going to be also interesting as well when it comes to Bears and Rams, when I think about this, is I think why I favor the Rams as well is Rams should have the athletes in the front seven, especially on the defensive line, that should be able to contain Caleb Williams a little bit. Caleb Williams is so funny because he is seen now again. He wasn't after last year, but now he looks like generational again. He is seen as this generational talent, and a lot of it is because of the arm talent, of course. But what we've learned is that he has become an extremely underrated athlete. He is not a good runner as a quarterback. He's a great runner, and he is a magician in terms of getting out of sacks. Some of the stuff flashed at USC, but because it's USC, because he's playing against the Colorados and the UCLAs of the world, we're not going to always see him under pressure like that. But like the way he's able to make guys miss, escape sacks is magical at times. I think the Rams are a great matchup in the sense that for the Rams, I think will have a lot better success at running him down, containing him, and not letting him break the pocket and run all over them. I think with Young, I think with Verse, I think with all the guys they have and the pressure they bring, I would expect the Rams, whose defense has been a little spotty of late, I think at least that aspect of the game, I can't speak about other things that may go haywire. I think that aspect of the game they will be successful in, which I think is important because the Bears' offense is many things. One of the things that they are not efficient. It's not an efficient group. So I think you're going to want to make the Bears win on third down, drive down the field, limit their explosive plays, make them play a high percentage level of football that they have not been able to really do, and not allow Caleb Williams to find change in the cushion, so to speak, or find a $20 bill on the floor by you playing good defense, but him breaking the pocket and throwing the ball 40 yards down the field. You got to limit those plays as much as possible. So I think the Rams have the front to do that, which is why I'm picking the Rams in this game. I'm going with the Rams. This is also another weird spread. They're -4.5. Again, similarly, Vegas knows what they're doing. I see this as like a 7 to 4 point kind of win. So I'm like, all right, good luck. What are you saying? I'm going to say they win by about 6 points. So I'm going to take the 4.5. I think at a certain point with the Bears, they have great resilience. You have to give them a lot of credit. You have to give them all the flowers in terms of their toughness, the resilience, all the things that's necessary to keep making these comebacks happen. You have to. It's not an accident that the same team keeps finding a way to do this. We talk about it with and they're not at this level yet, but we talk about the Kansas City Chiefs and how no matter what happens, they always find a way to win. And you have, at a certain point, you have to give them credit. It's not luck that this is happening to them. They have coached it, they live it, they have a confidence about it, and they know how to win games down the stretch. You have to give the Bears that credit for being able to, despite being down, despite the odds looking slim, them finding ways to win. I do think they, again, talk about imperfect football. They play very imperfect football. And I do wonder that if you play against a team that's this good in the Rams, that at some point is going to come back to bite you. You can't play 2 quarters, 3 quarters of crappy football and think that you can keep getting away with it in the playoffs. Only Tom Brady and only Patrick Mahomes have been able to do that consistently. I think at a certain point you got to play more even football. And I think that if the Bears run into those similar troubles where they go into long stretches where they struggle, that I don't think is going to go well against a team that's this good, a team that's this well coached with McVay. So I'm taking the Rams. I'm taking the 4.5. Again, should be a fun game. I'm excited for this weekend. This is, again, a playoffs where I don't think that anybody can really say what exactly is going to happen here. They're all the lines are pretty close outside that Seahawks game, and I don't think anyone feels totally confident in the Seahawks because they have Sam Darnold. Now he's also injured. And you have the 49ers who, again, their playoff chokes don't normally come in the divisional round. They're usually very well coached and very buttoned up in the divisional round. That feels like a tough game, regardless of the circumstances of the fact that they just played recently, the fact that you know the Niners are dealing with injuries. It doesn't feel like this just like obvious thing that you're going to see the Seahawks just walk in there and blow them out. If you feel that way, more power to you. I can't sit here with that same confidence. So last thing before we get out of here, man, it's been a fun show. This is 40 Days and 40 Nights. Again, this is a live stream show that I do every Monday through Friday. 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. is where you'll find the show live on multiple accounts. You can find this account in terms of the live show on YouTube, New Generation Media, where we're streaming live. That's where we're getting plenty of comments in the comment section. Thanks to everybody in the comment section. Thanks to everybody watching on YouTube. New Generation Media is where you'll find this show. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, New Generation Media. If you like the commentary, you like the show, make sure you engage with the show. Comment, give a like to the video while it's up. Give a like to the video after it's down. Like, go back and, even though you're not going to watch the whole 2-hour show again, or hour and a half, how long it is, but go give it a like, give it a comment, say you like the show. Give us as much engagement as possible because that's the name of the game. I'm not someone who's an engagement farmer. I'm not someone who loves the idea that this is where we're at. But, like, I do know that it's important that when you're putting out good content and if people are enjoying it, that they engage with it in a way to help. So all that support is important. And all that support we definitely appreciate. So whether you're watching on YouTube or wherever you're watching, make sure you give us a like, subscribe to the channel. Also be sure to watch us on X if you're on X, EJ_Stewart. That's my Twitter handle / X handle is up there. That's where the show is streaming live as well. Support us there as well. Make sure you follow me, EJ_Stewart on X. At New Generation Pod, where you can find the channel on X. It's streaming live on my channel, but our Twitter account is at New Generation Pod. And we're also streaming live on Instagram Live. Shout out to the folks on IG Live. I've seen plenty of folks on there. For my setup, it's always the hardest sometimes to like see who's on IG Live, but I've seen plenty of folks in there. My future mother-in-law is in there. Hi, Carolyn. E.M. Hancock was in here earlier. I don't know if he's still in there. He said, "What up, EJ? What's up?" I see my guy Reggie's joined. I seen 49ers Castro has joined. I've seen a bunch of people that joined. So shout out to you guys, y'all watching on IG Live. It's been really cool and a lot of fun that you guys have been supporting through there. So shout out to the people on IG Live. Make sure you follow me on Instagram, Action EJ, where obviously this show is streamed. Also, I post clips of the show on that account as well. And make sure you find our audio podcast channel too. New Generation Podcast Network is our audio channel where you'll find these podcasts. every episode of 40 Days and 40 Nights gets posted to our podcast channel. So you're a fan of the show, but maybe you can't watch the show live, or maybe you can't watch the show even afterwards. Maybe you're busy, or maybe you're whatever, or maybe you just enjoy podcast content. You like to be on the run. You like to have stuff in your headphones. You want to listen. You can also listen to these shows as well. They're podcasted directly right after the show. Give it, an hour or so, whatever. It takes time to put it up, but it goes up there relatively quickly. The podcast of the show goes up there. New Generation Podcast Network, where you'll find that show. 40 Days, 40 Nights. Every episode's up there. And like I said before, we post a bunch of other shows on there. That is where all New Generation content lives. So our Star Wars podcast, Imperial Broadcast, hosted by my brothers, Shamari and Kendall Stewart. That show is up there. You also have Off Script, our wrestling podcast that I do with Lucas Goldman, former WWE writer. That is on there as well. Hero Talk, which is our Marvel DC podcast, talking all things movies and television. That is on there as well. We haven't done sports talk in a while, but our Sports Talk podcast is up there. All of the podcast content is on there, including 40 Days and 40 Nights. So make sure you head over to our podcast channels, wherever you get your podcasts. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher, TuneIn. Wherever you get your podcasts, you can find New Generation Podcast Network. And same deal. Make sure you give us a like. Make sure you give us 5 stars. Leave a review. Leave a comment. Leave whatever you got to do. Let us know how you're feeling about the show. And we like to engage with our audience. We like to engage with our listeners and our subscribers. So we greatly appreciate the love. It's all appreciated for sure. So let's wrap the show with one last thing here, man. And you want to talk about something that pissed me off. This really pissed me off. So Knicks, once again, lose last night. They lose to the Warriors. They finish a miserable, absolutely miserable West Coast trip, 5-game trip, where they go 1-4. Complete disaster, complete failure in many regards. I am not as much concerned about the fact they lost. The loss was frustrating. They got out to this red-hot start. They were up 17 points. And, this is the NBA. You're going to blow leads. You're playing against a pretty good team. Not a great team. This is not the Warriors from 2017 or anything like that. But you're playing against a pretty good team at home. You're on a back-to-back. I think Knicks knew the assignment. They had to get off to a hot start, which I'm happy that they did. So it allowed them to play with the lead. Unfortunately, they weren't able to keep that lead. By the end of the game, I think they were definitely gassed. But it wasn't so much about the result of the game. There are problems with this team. They do not guard anybody, which continues to be frustrating for me in a game like last night. Because while they did have those, not injury, well, they did have obviously the back-to-back, so you had tired legs. You also didn't have Jalen Brunson out there, which means your defense should be better. Like Jalen Brunson, in many ways, the Knicks have tried to find ways to hide him defensively. And I've actually seen pretty good commentary that the Knicks are probably trying to do too much to hide him and actually putting them in disadvantages. And maybe they should consider letting him guard his matchup and not trying to hide him so much and not trying to make up for it and allow the guys to play their man and they'll actually make them play more solid defense. Live with the fact that he may give up some buckets, but understanding that you're still playing honest everywhere else. I think it's a very interesting theory, and I'm wondering if Mike Brown's considering that. But it's not so much about the play. Defense is a problem. The team is not playing well at this point in time. That's obvious. But what pissed me off last night, again, was watching Draymond Green punk the Knicks yet again. And this went beyond just on the court, where once again, Draymond Green, who plays basketball like a scumbag, is making dirty plays to try to get under Karl-Anthony Towns' skin because he has this weirdo obsession with Karl-Anthony Towns. And I don't quite understand it. I don't quite get it. But Draymond Green plays basketball like a scumbag and a weirdo. So that is what he is, and that's what he is doing. So he is doing his antics. And once again, you do not have Knicks retaliating in any major way. Deuce McBride did kind of get into his grill a little bit and say, yo, what the hell's going on? He's the only guy, it seemed like, the one to talk to Draymond Green, who was talking to the Knicks all game, while he's on the bench, while they're on the bench, on the court, all the histrionics. He's being so extra in this regular season game towards the New York Knicks. And Karl-Anthony Towns, who had all this stuff with him last year, you come into Golden State this year, and we're seeing the same thing happen. He takes this ridiculous flagrant foul that was a scary play, a play in which a guy definitely could, twist an ankle or sprain an ankle because he's grabbing, Cat by the legs, by the ankles as he's driving to the basket at full speed. Just an absolutely dirty, brutal play by a guy who, again, plays basketball like a complete scumbag. To me, it's pathetic that a player who is a Hall of Famer and a player who we should be talking about his greatness defensively and what he has done to help build the dynasty, we can't because he makes scumbag moves like this. But with that being said, no Knicks, again, really standing up to Draymond Green in any major way. But beyond that, how about the head coach? This was, to me, the first complete, utter failure from the Knicks head coach, Mike Brown, who seemed last night like he would have preferred to be back as the assistant coach on the bench for the Golden State Warriors rather than being the head coach of the New York Knicks. Because while Draymond Green is making these scumbag moves, talking all of this junk throughout the entire game, instead of telling him, yo, shut your ass up, he wants a hug, he wants to grin, he wants to buddy up with him. When this guy is embarrassing you, this guy is punking you. Mike Brown, do you want to be the head coach of the New York Knicks? Or do you want to be Steve Kerr's lieutenant? Last night, I could not tell the difference. You look like you wanted to be an assistant coach. You look like you would have rather been on the other side. Newsflash, that guy's an op. I know these players on this team, outside of Deuce McBride last night apparently, and maybe OG Anunoby a little bit, I know these players don't seem to understand that, but you, the head coach, have to understand that. And it is a ridiculous look when you have your star player, who you have been trying to get on the same page with all season, who is now going through a funk, and in a situation where he's having a confrontation with an opponent who he can't stand, who he hates, you're hugging the guy. You're laughing with the guy. You're kissing up to the guy. Do you want to be the Knicks head coach or want to coach the damn Warriors? Well, you'll be a number 2. You'll never be a number 1. I couldn't tell the difference. That was an utter failure for Mike Brown to act like that. And to me, it made matters worse because he's hugging him during the game. He's hugging him after the game. But then to make matters worse, you go into the press conference, and now people want to get your reactions to the idiocy that was Draymond Green and these dirty plays and all the stuff he was doing. And you sounded like, again, you were the coach for the Warriors.
Do you think Draymond's intensity and just the way he was going at Cat kind of turned this game the way it did?
No, I mean, Draymond, that's how he plays. Draymond's always going to be intense.
Do you want his autograph? Do you want a signed picture? He's always intense. He flagrant fouled your player in a play that was dangerous. This is not the time to be giving Draymond Green his flowers. That's the time to be like, remember when Mike Brown, he got the love of the Kings fans when he came out with the laptop? Where was the laptop last night? To be like, this guy is out of control. This guy almost injured our star player. This guy needs to be suspended. Oh, no, Draymond's just intense. That's how he plays. He just does a good job. Again, do you want his autograph?
But I thought, Draymond, his intensity is what it is. That's who he is. That's how he plays. I didn't think it impacted us, but what I did feel was Cat picking up, his 5th foul and us having to sit him down. That hurt us because we were playing relatively good at the time.
So it's not Draymond playing basketball like a scumbag or the Knicks clearly not being able to handle Draymond and his antics that were the reason for the Knicks' folly. It's now he's saying it's Cat's fault. He's like, no, Draymond, his impact in the game, after you were just saying how much of an impactful player he was, that wasn't the actual difference. It was actually Karl Towns' fault that Draymond is harassing him all over the court. It's his fault that he's got 5 fouls. It's his fault that we couldn't keep him on the floor, and that's why we lost. Again, are you the coach of the Knicks or are you the coach of the Warriors? Which one is it? And to me, when you're going to be a leader, players reflect their leadership. So I didn't like Tibbs wasn't buddying Draymond last year, but I didn't like that he even shook his hand after the game and showed him a little bit of love going. I didn't even like that, and I killed Tibbs for that. This is ridiculous. Oh, no, Draymond's just intense. That's just how he does. Oh, well, Draymond, he was intense and all, but really the big problem was Karl-Anthony Towns. He was the problem, and he was his own worst enemy in this game, not the guy who was trying to flavor foul him. I mean, what are we talking about, man? And again, that leadership is a reflection for the rest of the team. So if they see that Draymond Green can punk them, he reportedly told the bench that Cat's a baby, he's talking crazy to them, and then you are laughing, buddy, kissing up to him. How do you think that reflects on your younger players? How do you think that reflects on your team? What you're telling them is Draymond is him. Draymond is Debo. We got to be afraid of Draymond. We got to kiss up to Draymond because otherwise there's going to be problems. That's the message you're sending to your team. And you have a star player who you've been trying to get on the same page with all season, and he has a guy who he can't stand, a mortal enemy, and you're kissing up to him. You think you're going to get that guy on your page? Why the hell, if I'm calling down, why the hell am I listening to this guy? He's been getting on my ass all season. He just buried me in the last game, albeit maybe deservedly for that terrible effort against the Kings. But he buried me in the media last game. And then in this game, when Cat was playing hard, Cat was playing well early in the game. And then I get some dumb fouls, and this game gets out of hand in part because the refs couldn't handle Draymond Green and his stupidity. I'm getting blamed for it? And then you're going to buddy and laugh and joke with that guy? Man, get out of here, man. If I was Cat, I'd be done with this team. I'd be done with Mike Brown after what happened last night. That was awful. Awful. And I have defended Mike Brown all season. I think he has done, up to this point, a very good job before, obviously, this West Coast trip that was a disaster. Last night was a terrible moment for him. That was his worst moment as Knicks coach so far. And I am just sick of this Knicks team not being able to embody anything about the 90s. I'm someone who says I'm tired of hearing about the 90s. I'm tired of hearing about, we were rough and tumble Knicks and we used to beat people up and fight. We know the stories. I love the 90s Knicks. I watched those teams play. We get it. I think sometimes we romanticize it so much for a team that didn't win a championship. But it is annoying and frustrating to watch a team wearing the Knick across their chest and players who claim that they know what that means when you wear New York across your chest, and then allow Draymond Green to keep punking you. Because the guys that wore New York across their chest in the 90s, the guys that wore New York across their chest in the 70s would have never allowed this BS to keep going on. So don't tell me how much you love New York City. Don't tell me how much you love being a New York Knick. Don't tell me how much you love the history of this organization. You don't if you keep letting Draymond Green punk your ass every time you see him. Enough. Enough. Damn New York Knicks Draymond Green crap I got to keep dealing with year in and year out. That team's not even good. It'd be one thing if this was the Warriors when they were winning 70 games and winning championships, and they were a threat to win a championship. These guys are about to be put out to pasture. Steve Kerr's probably in his last year. Draymond Green might get traded next year. Steph Curry's at the end of the road. This team might not get to the playoffs. They might get knocked out in the play-in round. And you're letting these guys punk you? Come on, man. If this isn't a turning point in this season, this terrible stretch since the new year started, I don't know what is. I don't know what is. They have the second worst defensive rating since the new year started. What happened last night should be a mea culpa for this team to come together and say, yo, what is going on? We're not defending our star players against ops. Our coach is buddying with the opponent, acting like he wants to be their assistant coach again. We're playing zero defense. What's going on here? I get you're a championship contender. I get that you're one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. I know the expectation. I know these are January games, but you cannot let these kind of habits become the norm. And what's becoming increasingly concerning is that they're allowing themselves to play basketball this way and be okay with it. I don't know how any Knicks player or Knicks fan should be okay with how this West Coast trip went. I don't know how any Knicks fan or Knicks player should be okay with how that game went last night with Draymond Green acting the way he was acting with your star player. And I have zero idea if the coach cares. Because the coach seemed so happy and so joyous to see those guys on that other team. Made me sick. That's where we're going to leave it today, man. That's where we're going to leave it. We're wrapping up 1 week of 40 days and 40 nights. I keep trying to do this math. So this is 5 days. I guess we have 9 weeks, I want to say. If we do 40 days for night, do that correctly? 9 weeks? That math is always not math for me. I think we have, I believe, 9 weeks of this. So this is day 5 wrapping up here. We'll have night 5 later tonight, 6 p.m. live. So all the things that we've been talking about, we'll have a week recap. I'm not even sure what I'm going to get to tonight. There's lots that happened last day, obviously, I wanted to get to. But we'll have a fun show later on today. Like I said before, make sure if you like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel. New Generation Media is a channel on YouTube. Make sure you follow me on social media where I'm live streaming here. X is where I'm at, EJ_Stewart. Instagram, Action EJ. Make sure you follow me on those accounts. And then make sure you follow the show's accounts as well. We're New Generation Podcast on Instagram, and we're New Generation Pod on X. This has been, well, it's been a lot of raging and a lot of me going crazy. I guarantee you, that's a lot. This has been a fun one. This has been a fun one. This has definitely been a fun episode to do. It's been a fun week. I'm excited to wrap up this week of 40 days and 40 nights. It's been, again, a great thrill. We'll be back again, 6 p.m., another live show. Keep it locked here. Again, this is EJ Stewart. I'll see you guys a little bit later.